Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us from around the world. We want to welcome you to the second day of AFS International Education Week 2025. Yes, you're in the right place for our session, Unpacking Global Competence, Skills for Every Professional Setting. We're going to give everyone about 30 seconds more to log in, get their audio settled, and it's great to see so many of you already here with us. So, while more attendees are joining us, and before we dive in, let's quickly orient ourselves. Note that we're in a webinar format, and this is a panel discussion. That is why your camera and your microphone are automatically turned off. Please keep an eye on the chat for helpful links and resources that we will be sharing. Feel free to use reactions to interact and engage. And if you need them, closed captions are enabled via the CC button. A quick reminder that AI note-taking bots are going to be disabled to ensure privacy, but don't worry, this session is being recorded and we will share it with you. So let's get to it. As many of you already know, AFS is a global nonprofit organization focused on developing active global citizens who can contribute to a more peaceful, just, equitable, and sustainable world. And we do that through international education programs, volunteerism, education resources, and advocacy initiatives, such as this very webinar series in celebration of International Education Week 2025. Very good. And I'm your host, Pablo Cornejo, Global App Engagement Lead at AFS International. I've had the pleasure of working at the intersection of the corporate and nonprofit worlds for several years, and I'm truly passionate about global skills and how they can translate into career success. Co-hosting this session today is my esteemed colleague, Claudia Rojas, Global Consultant at AFS International. She has worked for over 20 years in the corporate sector, and she has vast experience in leadership transformation and human capital. Claudia, she will be helping us navigate the questions with our expert panel today. And we have a stellar lineup here in the room with us. We're being joined by Irene Caldente, Global Vice President of Learning and Development at Korn Ferry, Courtney Moore, Principal, People and Inclusion Leader, Global Acceleration Centers at PwC, and Jared Sissom, Director of the Center for Global Competency, University of Central Oklahoma, UCO. And we will introduce you all fully now, starting with Irene. Irene Caldente is passionate about helping people and organizations thrive across cultures. An industrial engineer with an MBA, she began her career in marketing before discovering her true calling in people and organizational development. With a global career at Korn Ferry, she has grown from consulting roles in Latin America to global leadership in learning and development. Having built her life and career across 3 continents, Irene believes global competence is born from curiosity, empathy, and adaptability. Happily married for over 30 years and mom of 3 young professionals, she finds joy in embracing new cultures and helping others grow. Irene, we're thrilled to have you here with us.
Thank you, Pablo, and thank you, Claudia, for having me.
Very good. And we'll now continue with Courtney. Courtney Moore is the People and Inclusion Leader for PwC's Acceleration Centers, guiding the human capital strategy for more than 46,000 professionals across 7 countries. She leads efforts to build a skills-first, inclusive, and AI-enabled workforce that helps people thrive and lead in a globally connected environment. With more than 20 years of experience at PwC, Courtney has also held senior roles in talent acquisition and people operations. She's committed to fostering a culture of belonging and well-being and enabling a workforce grounded in cultural agility and the global mindset. Courtney serves on the board of directors for the Bare Necessities Pediatric Cancer Foundation and lives in the Chicago area with her family. Courtney, it's our absolute pleasure that you're joining our panel today.
Thank you for having me.
Very good. Thank you so much, Courtney. And finally, let's introduce Jared. Jared Sissom serves as the Director of Global Competency at the University of Central Oklahoma, UCO. where he has dedicated the past 12 years to fostering global awareness and intercultural understanding. In addition to his role, he also teaches in the Department of Sociology, leading a course on applied intercultural competency. Before joining UCO, Jared was the executive director of the Oklahoma Governors International Team and also taught English in Japan. And this experience has deepened his commitment to global engagement. Though he did not grow up with a strong emphasis on cultural awareness, Jared has developed a deep passion for helping others better understand and appreciate the diverse cultures around them. Jared, thank you so much for making the time to be with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. And we're delighted to have the opportunity to talk to you all and to be in conversation with you today. Here's the roadmap for our session. We will start with defining briefly what we actually mean by global competence. Then we'll open the floor to our panel of experts. And finally, we will share some highlights. Then cover next steps, final steps for our International Education Week attendees. Very good. I'm going to start this session by saying that we're all navigating a fundamental shift in the world of work. Teams are more diverse. Collaboration is more remote. And markets are more interconnected than ever before. And in this new landscape, it's clear that technical expertise alone is no longer the sole driver of success. We're here today to explore a set of skills that have become a crucial differentiator for every professional: global competence. But what do we mean by global competence? You may know it by other names like cultural agility or cultural intelligence, but at the core, it represents those essential human-centric abilities that allow us to interact with others different from us. These are skills such as self-awareness, adaptability, perspective taking, and effective cross-cultural communication. These power skills are highly sought after by organizations, and today we'll explore what these essential competencies look like in various organizational settings and why they are crucial for the present and the future of work. Quoting OECD's definition, global competence is the capacity to analyze local, global, and intercultural issues, and understand and appreciate different perspectives and worldviews, interact effectively with others from diverse backgrounds, and act for the collective well-being and sustainable development of the world. It requires a combination of skills, knowledge, attitudes, and values successfully applied to intercultural situations. When we say intercultural situations, those refer to face-to-face, virtual, or even mediated encounters with people who are perceived to be from different cultural backgrounds. And an important note through the work we do here at AFS, when we say the word culture, we conceive it widely, not only limited to nationality, but to the many aspects of each other's identities. And very quickly, before we kick off our panel, I want to ask you, okay, how does global competence translate into actual professional abilities? What does a globally competent professional actually look like? We can use this model to visualize the specific skills that make up this competence. If you look at the wheel on the screen, you will see it is built on 4 distinct dimensions or layers: personal, interpersonal, intercultural, and global. And I also want to say that in their most recent reports, major institutions like OECD and the World Economic Forum argue that these are the skills of the future. They emphasize that in the current era, these human-centered skills are truly essential, not just to work effectively alongside others, but to truly adapt to an increasingly complex global environment. And with that context in mind, let's bring in the experts who say this and experience this every day. For that, I will pass it over to you, Claudia.
Thank you so much, Pablo. It is an honor for me to moderate this conversation with such an exceptional panel of leaders who are driving global learning and workforce development forward. I'm sure the audience will enjoy this conversation a lot, so let's start. And I would like to start with a few questions for the workforce development leaders, Irene and Courtney. So what are the top 3 skills that you consider are setting our organization and your teams apart in the current global job market? And what is your organization doing right now to develop globally minded employees?
Irene, you want to start or you want me to start?
Yeah, let me start. I was trying to find my unmute button as always. So thank you so much, Claudia and Pablo. Thank you again. So look, at Contrary, as many of you may know, we help organizations really get the best out of their people and execute their strategies through people. And we do this across geographies, across industries. So we see very clearly which human skills really set people apart in today's global job market. So for us, the first one is curiosity, which you have as part of your framework, curiosity and adaptability. And I think that they two need to work together. As Pablo mentioned before, the world is changing very fast. We all know that. And curiosity really helps us keep things open in our mind. While adaptability is the one that helps us turn unfamiliar situations into growth. Having had the opportunity to live and work in places like Caracas, Lima, Tokyo, Jared, you and I need to talk, and now living in Barcelona, London. So I've seen really firsthand how curiosity turns fear, uncertainty, which are very uncomfortable feelings, into opportunity. And then adaptability is the one that helps us transform experiences, is sometimes really difficult ones, into really areas of development. So curiosity and adaptability would be the first one. The second skills, I would say, is cultural agility and empathy. So our teams collaborate across regions every day. So empathy is what allows us to understand clients, to understand context, connect across differences, and turn diversity into a real advantage and not just a tick in the box exercise. And then the third one, I would say, is purpose-driven collaboration. So we could have all of these magnificent competencies, but if we don't put them at the work of something and we have that commonality, it's a very difficult place to be. So at Contrary, we are united by the belief that our work helps people and organizations thrive. And that shared purpose is what strengthens how to show up every day and work and make it better every day too. So how do we actually build these 3 sets of skills: curiosity and adaptability, empathy and cultural agility, and purpose-led collaboration? So the truth is that at Contrary, developing global-minded employees doesn't happen in a classroom. It happens through the way we work, learn, and how we connect every day. Our interns, for instance, and graduates don't just shadow the work, they do the work. They work on real projects with real clients. They have bodies that help them navigate the culture, and they join global networkings that expose them to different markets and perspectives. They also participate in fireside chats with our CEO and our regional leaders, hearing directly for how global leaders think, but also how different generations think. So, and this helps them to build those relationships across cultures and to different type of identity perspectives, to Pablo's point before. So for graduates, our Contrary Launch program helps them develop emotional intelligence and self-awareness from the beginning of their career, which I personally think is kind of the foundation of the global competence. And then throughout all of our people's career, we create experiences from junior colleagues to the most senior ones, which bring together colleagues from different regions, identities, and generations so that they can learn from each other. So for us, it's not a program, it's just a mindset and a way of working where we create experiences that help people become more curious, more connected, and more capable of thriving anywhere and with anyone. So, Carney.
I love that. Thank you so much. And Claudia, thank you so much for the question. Pablo, I loved your introduction. Totally agree with all those skills. And Irene, I think there's a lot of similarities between what we're going to talk about today. But I love this question because I truly believe that skills, not titles, are the currency of the new era. At PwC, we are moving towards a skills-first organization, as Pablo mentioned in my introduction, and really looking to blend human and AI capabilities to be the world's premier developer of talent. It's funny. We have a bit of a tagline. There's no question the world is changing, but we believe that in the age of AI, our edge is human. And that phrase really captures how we develop our people, across the firm and including across our acceleration centers, which, as mentioned, more than 46,000 people across 7 countries who are growing both technical expertise and human skills to really be able to thrive in this, hyper-connected world. But when I think about what sets our teams apart, there are a few skills that stand out. Difficult to boil it down to just 3. But ironically, I also had curiosity, specifically intellectual curiosity. Think about it as critical thinking skills. AI fluency is another one, and cultural dexterity, global competence, cultural awareness, you name it. But intellectual curiosity is really at the heart of how we grow. We believe it's what drives innovation, builds trust, and really helps our people think beyond the task in front of them. It's not about asking why and how, or it is about asking why and how. It's not just about asking what do I do? It's why do I do this? How do I do this? Really encouraging people to challenge assumptions, explore ideas, and see problems from multiple perspectives. It's what connects teams across geographies, right? Curiosity becomes this shared language for collaboration. And we see this come to life through the apprenticeship model that we drive at PwC, where everyone teaches, everyone learns. And we bucket it into 5 areas, right? Model and shadow behaviors, ask and answer questions, share and seek knowledge, give, request feedback, stretch and grow skills. And we believe this creates continued growth and confidence really across borders. On AI fluency is the new business language. It's not about being a technologist. It's about being confident in how to use technology responsibly and creatively. We call it leading at the human edge of AI, where technology really amplifies the human judgment that we need. We believe everyone needs a baseline understanding of AI, what it can do, when to use it, and when human insight really matters most. We're investing in this through firm-wide learning, strategic relationships. So we have AI learning pathways for all of our professionals. We have immersion programs and university collaborations to expand that expertise. And it's really not just AI, it's AI plus human skills to really propel us forward. And the goal is simple, right? Empower our people to use AI to deliver better insights and deeper connections. And the last skill is around cultural dexterity, that global mindset that we're all here today to discuss. But it's how we succeed in a borderless firm, right? It's about recognizing that people come from different places and experiences and knowing how to meet them where they are. It's about being able to listen, to adapt, and to collaborate across cultures, generations, time zones. Teams in our acceleration centers work just like that, right? We are across 7 different countries right now. We operate with even more global territory, 78 different countries across the globe. So we are constantly having to work across those cultures, across those time zones, and across those backgrounds. We believe success, or I certainly believe that success comes from bridging those differences, right? Not minimizing them. And when people feel seen and respected, they can create better solutions for our clients and for each other. So how do we build these skills? There's a number of ways that we build these skills, but when we think about how we develop globally minded professionals, that global mentality is essential to the way that we work. So we consider it a skill that it's an essential one that we have to give to our staff. But it's not just developed by chance, right? It grows through certainly on the ground learning, great experiences such as this one that AFS is putting on, but it also grows through shared experiences and really being intentional about celebrating what makes us unique. 3 ways that we develop this skill, as I already mentioned: apprenticeship model, embedding teaching and learning in everyday work. Our leaders model inclusive behaviors, and we coach our teams to navigate diverse environments through global experiences. So we've got opportunities clearly for cross-territory collaboration. We run societal impact programs that expose teams to different cultures and perspectives, as well as inclusive leadership development. We run programs that are designed to develop leaders to thrive in a multicultural world. So, in closing, these 3 skills, and again, there are so many, we believe define what it means to lead in a global AI-powered world. They're how our people think and grow and connect, and what makes our culture and our teams truly stand out. Claudia,
Well, thank you so much, Irene and Courtney. Well, having your perspective on this topic is really enriching. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and with us. Well, I would now like to hear the point of view from academia. So, Jared, this is for you. So the University of Central Oklahoma established a specialized Center of Global Learning. So what was the rationale behind, Jared, when you decided to create a center specifically dedicated to developing global competence? And what initiatives are you currently underway to help all your audiences achieve this goal?
Sure. Thank you, Claudia. It's good to be with all of you this morning. Thank you so much again for having me. It's great to be here with you all. So our Center for Global Competency was actually started before I originated here at the university, which was started back in 2008. And the idea of the Center for Global Competency at that time was really trying to find ways to help our students become more team-oriented, open-minded, and creative thinkers that would allow them to connect with people and have better ways of working with people that were different from them. In addition to also meeting our students where they are. And so I actually we're considered a metropolitan university, and we have several of our students are actually commuters at our university. And so a lot of them come from outside. We do have students that live on campus, but we also have several students coming from off campus that live in the general area close to our campus. And a lot of those students that we work with are working with first generational students. I'm working with students from a wide range of backgrounds. And so not all of the students that we work with are as traditional as some colleges that you may be familiar with. And so a lot of our students, we have some students that are working 40-hour work weeks in our university while also trying to obtain a degree. And they're, between the ages of 18 and 22 and doing these things. And so we wanted to try to find ways to meet them where we are, and realizing that study abroad was not only feasible way to helping expose our students to, cultural understanding. And so we needed to find ways to meet them where they are. And so that resulted in us creating programs, the things that they could do on shorter terms, but also things that they could also do here locally at our university without ever having to leave as well. And so some of the things that kind of initially started at our university included doing some intercultural programming on our campus. And so connecting our students with international students in a variety of ways on campus through the programs that we offer. We have a buddy program that we do. We have an international student council and several other programs. I could list them, but I don't really have the time to go through all of those today. But essentially finding ways to helping expose our students to programs more locally, if you will, on our campus. And so meeting them where they are. And so we did that through that. We also have our international house on our campus, where we connect international students and American students living in an international house in a living learning community on our campus, which allowed them to learn more about the world in different cultures without ever going abroad. And then also just being exposed to a wide range of events that we put on our campus. And so that's kind of where we started. As time went on, though, we started to, our university is really big. We have a key term we like to use on our campus, known as transformative learning. And transformative learning, we actually have even a thing on our campus known as the Stellar program, which stands for the Student Transformative Learning Record. And that record basically is a record where students can actually get credit in a wide range of areas on campus, for different things such as leadership, things such as service learning. But one of those 6 key areas on our campus is actually global and cultural competency. And so through that program, and just knowing Stellar, students could actually get credit through exposure, integration, or transformation. And I started realizing that a lot of our students were being exposed to a lot of cultural differences on our campus, but there wasn't a whole lot taking place in the way of integration or transformation to some of the programs that we were doing. In addition to that, my predecessor, she was an incredible person in helping me kind of understand the importance of some of these things. And so through talking with her and learning some of the things that we could do on our campus, I really wanted to try to find ways to expand on what we could do, because it really felt like we were only living through the concrete experiences, if you will, of Kolb's learning cycle. So how could we expand on that Kolb's learning cycle and do more? And so as I continued to grow and learning more and all of those things, we started to try to brainstorm ways of things that we could do. And so now we're in this process of doing new things. And this is kind of when AFS also kind of came to play. And so, like I said, my predecessor mentioned the AFS program, which was really incredible as an opportunity. And so some of the things that we're doing now is we have actually just recently launched a COIL program on our campus, which some people may be familiar with. It was more gaining momentum during the pandemic, but I wanted to find ways to continue to expand on meeting our students where they were. So building on our building a collaborative online intercultural learning programs where faculty could implement cultural learning in their classrooms with people all around the world, in addition to students here locally that we have on our campus. Also creating a program where, rather than just exposing our students to all of these different programs, finding ways that they can expand on them. And so doing things such as building a portfolio and developing a fellowship program, which is something I'm currently working on right now as well. And then finally, like I said, the AFS, we decided I was actually able to work with another faculty member on our campus to develop a intercultural learning course on campus where we actually encourage students not just to be exposed to, but take it beyond that and expose themselves to things that they're unfamiliar with. And so we actually were able to develop an applied intercultural competency course. And through that course, we've allowed students to have not only these experiences, but also to practice their reflection skills and go through those things and go throughout more of the Kolb's learning cycles, if you will, the various cycles of the Kolb's learning cycle while implementing the AFS in their programs as well. These programs have not just been good for helping our students and preparing for skills in the future. They're actually also good for things as well, such as helping students work within the classroom and working not just in our class, but in also other classes where they have to develop skills to work with other classmates in the classes, right? Because when you do group projects, you're having to learn with people who are different from you. And so working in classrooms, but not only inside the classroom, it's also helping outside the classroom, the extracurricular activities that they're doing as well, such as the student groups that they're a part of. You know, student groups, even if they may have a similar interest in a student group that they're a part of, there are definitely going to be cultural differences within that student organization. And so helping students within their student organization and develop skills and their leadership skills through those programs as well. So yeah, that's kind of what I have.
Well, thank you so much, Jared. Well, really inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Well, now, after listening to all of you, integrating both perspectives, academia and the organizations, give us a broader idea of why developing global competencies is becoming so crucial to successfully navigate the interconnected world that we are all part of. Well, we haven't finished yet with the questions. We have additional questions for all of you that we would like to address today and get your perspective on. Well, Courtney, Irene, and Jared, in that order, why is developing global competence becoming a crucial career differentiator?
Excellent. Thank you so much. And Jared, it sounds like an awesome school. I wish I could go back to college to experience some of what you just talked about. But I mean, I'm going to give a little bit of a personal example around, global competence being a career differentiator. You know, in my career, I've had an opportunity to present different concepts to different countries or different territories to get buy-in. And I recall an experience where, I was presenting a concept to somebody in the US, and, it was very much like, here's the end result of this. And if you've got any questions on, how we're getting there, great. But they're really interested in the outcome. And then I had a conversation with another territory who wanted to unpack the entire process, right? They wanted to stop me when I started talking about the outcome and talk through the process around it. And I remember thinking, gosh, why did this conversation go so differently? And I realized at the time that I hadn't really researched enough that country and maybe how they process information or what they do. And on my team, we did a book club for Erin Meyer's The Culture Map. And if you haven't read that book, it's a fantastic one. And as I read a chapter that highlighted that specific country that I had interacted with, I was like, oh, why didn't I read this book before? Right. I think it would have come off better. And so, I think as I've been working with different territories over time, I really leaned on like a better understanding of how to address those particular nuances and what, how messages and thoughts and ideas resonate. But to me, it kind of boils down to what we already talked about, right? Intellectual curiosity, right? It's how we can kind of connect across the globe, build trust, right, with individuals. And so, that same curiosity is at the heart of global competence, which I certainly believe and have experience as to how it could be a career differentiator. I can assure you those future meetings went way differently. The world of work is obviously fully interconnected. Technology has erased boundaries, but people still bring their own perspectives and cultures to every interaction. So the differentiator is not just the technical skills or the business skills that you're bringing to the table, but it's those human skills that allow you to better connect, collaborate. And it's, to me, it's what leadership looks like, right? It's not just about your expertise, though. It's about your adaptability, helping others feel seen and valued and meeting them where they are. So I think those who can lead across those differences, who create that space for those diverse perspectives, they build trust across those borders. I think they are really the ones that are shaping what comes next. And when I use the word leaders, it's not a title. Every one of us can be a leader. Every one of us can practice global competence and in small, intentional ways. It's how you pause to listen before responding. You ask questions with curiosity. You stay open to what you can learn from someone else. So I clearly see it as a massive career differentiator, and one you all, 200 and some of you, have signed up to learn more about. So I think it's really great. Appreciate the question.
Thank you, Courtney. Irene?
Well, I definitely echo everything that Ernie just said. That book is amazing. It's a book to have on your side table to review from time to time when you need it. And I want to also speak out of my personal experience, because success in this world, it doesn't come with technology expertise or being an expert on something. And I remember in my early 30s, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be an expert. And in reality, success comes from staying curious, adapting quickly, and being open to learning from every culture, from every person. I remember when I had the chance to live in Japan, I mean, the most extreme cultural differences I probably lived there. And you have to be very intentional. I went into a friend who were living there for many years from my own culture, but also she helped me understand things that you can read and interpret in one way, but in reality it means something else. So you really need to be intentional when you mean by being curious. You need to go beyond what you are just seeing. As Courtney also mentioned, this borderless world of today happens every day in front of every laptop, because if something comes out of pandemic, which was great, is that the borders get even less remnant. So I managed to have the opportunity to connect to many more people across the world than what I used to have before, working mostly focusing on EMEA. So you are more likely now to collaborate across time zones, to collaborate across generations, across cultures. So again, technical knowledge can be replicated, but the ability to connect across these differences cannot. So you need to be curious, you need to be open and adapt and meet people where they are. So that's why I believe that global competence has become a very powerful differentiator. It's not just expertise, it's not just technical knowledge. It's about curiosity, empathy, perspective taking. It also helps you to discover what's in the world, in the workplace that you haven't seen, and that opens up opportunity. That has allowed me to work for Confer in so many different places and roles, just because curiosity has allowed me to discover new things, new opportunity for me. So yeah, I think those who cultivate global competence, they just don't fit into the global workspace. They really shape it. So that's something to keep in mind.
Thank you, Erin. Jared.
Yeah, Courtney and Irene, I think they did an outstanding job on really covering most of the things in this question. Really, the biggest thing I think I would like to add to this that may be slightly different, or in addition to what they've said, is, as things continue to develop and evolve over time, technology is continuing to evolve a lot over time. I think especially there are things about technology that we don't know now today that we can know within a year. I mean, even AI is developing so quickly, right? What we know about AI today, we will know a whole lot more even just within a year from now. And so because of that, the jobs and the market, the way everything is evolving and changing over this time right now, there are just so many unknowns of things that we don't know that we really can't prepare for it. The only way to really prepare for it is through these skills of global competency that we've been talking about today, in my personal opinion. These are the skills that we're going to be able to apply. Courtney has talked about these skills, Irene, Pablo, everyone's talked about all these skills, so I don't need to go through them again. I don't want to be repetitive, but I think those skills that we're gaining from global competency are really what's going to help us changing in this ever evolving world of things that we don't know. Because like I said, the things that we're being taught right now, there'll be things that we don't know. There's things that we can't teach right now because we just don't know what's going to happen or what's going to evolve. And so the best way to prepare for these changes is really just the skills of global competency or cultural humility and those types of things.
Thank you so much, Jared. Well, following the same speaker order, we have another question. And what is the biggest gap you see between the global skills academia is producing and the skills the global workforce requires? And how can we bridge that? So, Courtney, all yours.
Yeah. So when we think about the skills gap, and Jared, you just touched on it. I mean, it's everything's moving very fast, but it's not that people don't have knowledge. It's that they often need more opportunities to apply it in real world, globally connected environments, right? So, the most critical gap I would see today isn't technical. It's about connection and application. We believe people need spaces to practice the human skills that complement technology, to build confidence, cultural awareness, judgment, critical thinking. And that's where we've really focused on how do we drive the apprenticeship model, right? People learn by doing, by teaching, by asking, by sharing, giving feedback. It's what helps build that intellectual curiosity that we've talked so much about, that cultural dexterity that we've talked so much about. It's, through experience, not just instruction. So, I think the more we can just continue to practice global competence, the more we'll bridge any gap that comes from academia. Irene, I think over to you.
Thank you, Karen. I agree. And yes, I'm sure many of us think that the gap between knowledge and experience and application is a key one. And that's why I had to think very hard to come up with another one. But actually, I think there is another one that is very important, which is the generational gap and how we bridge that. So academia gives people good global awareness, and we can see everything that Jared mentioned that is being done to get that. But I think that we are having very few opportunities for people to learn and build that awareness across generations. Yet in the workplace, we now have 5 different generations working side by side. And this has always happened, let's be honest. But the magnitude of differences between these generations right now is massive. In terms of expectations, communication styles, relationships with technology. So the speed of change has really made those differences even more visible. So at Conferry, as I mentioned before, we see global competence as equally important across ages and across cultures. So it's about learning to connect, is listen, to adapt to people who think and work differently. So that's why in Conferry we keep focusing on hands-on human learning experiences. We get everybody to work on real projects with seniors, juniors, all different type of roles. We have a lot of people who are more on the psychology side, while others are much more business driven. All comes with different perspective, and they have learned that at different stages in their lives. So that really makes them to participate in a network of global and very different type of conversation. So these moments help them see that learning happens through connection and not hierarchy. So for me, bridging this gap, I want to go back to what I said before, comes out of intentionality and comes out of also out of reflection. It's not just getting people exposed to, it's helping them understand what happened, what's behind it, what I'm feeling like this, what I'm reacting, or why it works this time and then the other time didn't work. So reflection and giving people the opportunity to get the learning out of it, I think is fundamental. And I have the experience of my son going into an exchange program in a different country, it was interesting seeing him writing an essay at the end, talking about his experience. And I had to push him a little bit because it was about, okay, but what have you learned about how to interact with others? Not about the job itself, but about the differences, about how they see the work, about how they get success in a different way. So again, intentionality and reflection, I think, are fundamental elements to bridge that gap. Jared.
Yeah, really, just once again, a lot of the same thing. But I think, once again, the theory that's being taught in our, college classrooms all the time is really the biggest thing that, people don't need to be just hearing the theories that they hear in the classroom. It needs to be applied to like a real life practical experience. But I will say that experience does not need to happen through a study abroad experience. That experience can happen just as simply as doing something right within students on campus, such as doing a group project in the classroom. Group projects can provide lots of these skills necessary for students to practice these things. Maybe doing a service learning opportunity, or even just participating in an internship. I really think these types of things are just applying real practical life experiences to what these students are learning is going to be really what plays the biggest difference. Because you can learn the things all you want, but until you put it into real life practice and everyday practice on a daily basis and experiment with it and practice with it and reflect on it, that's where the true learning is going to be taking place.
Well, thank you all. It has been really inspiring listening to all of you and listening to all your answers. Well, and finally, this is the last question. I would love to start with Jara here, then Irene and Courtney. So what advice would you give the audience to overcome any misconceptions about developing global competence?
I really have a hard time just narrowing this down to one. So I'll say two things really, really quickly. The one thing is there's this misconception, I think, about global competence that in order to obtain and improve in your intercultural competency, the journey of intercultural competency at that is that you have to leave your country to do that because of that word global. And that is not the case. You can go right down the hall, right into the office next door, in the cubicle next to you, regardless of where you are. Just because that word global in it doesn't mean that you have to be going global to make it happen. And so that's the first thing. And I think the second thing, and this is something that I think several people struggle with, especially I feel like we're in a more polarizing world in this day and age, is that you can adapt to cultural differences without compromising who you are and what you believe in. So many people think that adapting to a cultural difference really means that you're giving up who you are and the person that you are, but that's not the case at all. It's the furthest from the truth. In fact, one thing that I was told one time in a training that I had with a lady, some of you probably know it's Hera Harvey. One thing she said is, what is my role and what is my goal and how do I do this without losing my soul? And I think that's so helpful and so practical in so many ways that you are able to adapt to people without compromising who you are and what you believe in. So I think those are two big things that I take with me all the time. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna add to what Jared said because I think those two are really good ones. I'm gonna add a third one, which is I think that no one becomes truly a global competent person. There is never a finished learning to that. It's a continuous exercise of awareness, humility, and growth. So you may think you master it. You may think you have that sixth sense that helps you understand something is going on here. But no, it just takes you a new opportunity, a new person, a new project, a new challenge, a new boss, and suddenly you are like square zero, starting again. So I think that's the beauty of it. It's like a muscle. You need to train it. You need to strengthen it. It becomes stronger, yes, but it never gets you to a place where now you are done. So the key is to stay curious, to keep listening, and remember that there is always something new to learn.
I love that. And I wish I wrote your quote down fast enough, Jared. I'm going to have to reach out to you for that too. I love it. But I agree with you, Irene. Like, I'm a huge believer in lifelong learning, which I absolutely believe is a focus for global competence. But I echo everything that's been said. I mean, you can't turn a corner without experiencing global cultural differences, right? And that's, again, as everybody mentioned, across backgrounds and time zones and generations and just lived experience, right? And I think we live in this sort of hyper tech world. We joke, I have 3 kids myself. I joke about the fact that, their connections are through Snapchat. Like, talk to someone, go out for a coffee or a Starbucks, right? And get to know someone. And I think it's not willingness, it's awareness, right? And it's I love the comment. I think, Irene, you mentioned purpose-driven collaboration. Like, how are we being purposeful, intentional about making those connections? I think that's really where we build trust, where we, develop a more common understanding of how we can move forward together. So to me, I echo everything that people said about, being, practicing it every single day, right? Being intentional about connection, right? And that's, to me, that everyday practice of curiosity, of, inclusion, connection is, what, if you're making that part of your routine, if you're pausing to listen, if you're trying to understand what perspective someone might be bringing to the table and stay open to learning from others, I promise you will succeed in this, life journey of building this global competence. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation. Thank you, Irene, Courtney, and Jared. Really thank you to all of you. Listening to you, or while listening to you, a few highlights stood out to me. And while you were presenting, we were taking some notes. And to recap, I want to share them with the audience. I believe this is important. So the first one is global competence is a necessity for all, not just for some. A major misconception is that this skill is only for those working or traveling internationally, is what some of you said. In reality, every workplace today is global, requiring navigation across diverse perspectives. You don't have to go abroad to develop global competency. The key gap is application, not just awareness. Universities may teach global awareness, but the biggest challenge is to bridge the gap to real-world application. Global competence is a power skill that differentiates careers. In an era, as Courtney said, where skills, not titles, are the new currency, human-centric abilities are paramount. Global competence development is a continuous stretch, not a final mastery. I like that one. It is a muscle you never fully master. It is just becomes stronger every time you stretch beyond that is that's familiar. And finally, cultivating these skills is not a passive act of just fitting into the global workplace. It is an active one that empowers you to build bridges and foster connection. You need to be intentional about. I really like that. Thank you again, Irene, Courtney, and Jared. This was a very inspiring conversation with very relevant takeaways. We really need to reflect on this as organizations and institutions. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure to moderate this conversation.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful to be with you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. And yeah, let me take the opportunity to give another word of appreciation to these leaders for bringing their expertise. We see their reactions flowing on screen, so that's amazing to see that the audience is applauding and sending their, their reactions. I think they really like this conversation. And let me share my screen one more time to say, please do continue the conversation with our panelists. Here, they are kindly sharing their LinkedIn contact, their LinkedIn profile, so you can connect with them. Building your network is actually the step one of global competence. So we encourage you to continue to connect. Very good. And now I'll move on to a few slides that speak about the next steps for our attendees today. Very good. So as a recognition for your participation today, all attendees and also our speakers as well will receive a digital badge via Credly. This isn't just an image. It's actually a verifiable credential you can use on your LinkedIn profile, your CV, to demonstrate your commitment to continuous learning during International Education Week 2025. Please look for an email from Credly shortly and then share your badge publicly. Very good. And a moment for us to ask a little bit of help from you. We actually practice what we preach when we say take action. So we ask you to please scan this QR code or click the link in the chat to fill out a very short 2-minute survey. And yes, your feedback will help us make our AFS offers better in the future. So yes, please take a moment to scan the QR code, to click the link on the chat, and please leave your comments and suggestions. Very good. And I want to briefly give you an overview of what's next during AFS's International Education Week. We're only on day 2. Tomorrow, please don't miss Building Digital Sanctuaries, Fostering Safe Spaces for Youth Online, and also a very interesting keynote, the Forum on Education Abroad keynote, which will dive into measuring the career impact of education abroad, a topic very connected and very relevant to the discussion we had today. Mm-hmm. We have more sessions on engaging and relevant topics on Thursday and Friday, so please Check the full schedule at afs.org/IW-webinars. And the recordings will be there as well. So the recording of this session will be published there. If you want to explore more about AFS, our programs, our scholarships, or even professional development opportunities, please come to our virtual booth. We have that happening today at 10:30 a.m. ET, and then also on Thursday. It's a great place to chat one-on-one with our team. And yes, please register. Here you have the QR as well. Very good. One more thing to share with you. Everything we discussed today is linked to the AFS Active Global Citizens Framework. Value and belonging, inquiring critically, taking action, understanding and relating. This is what expresses our philosophy, and it is what powers our programs to help materialize our mission. So we invite you all to go to afs.org/education, learn more about it, explore it. It's a free resource for you to use in any setting. And I have something else to show you as well. It's a final save the date. If you want to experience our energy in person, please join us at the AFS Youth Assembly. Next year, in 2026, it will happen in Geneva, Switzerland, in August 12th through 14th. And it's actually going to be an incredible gathering of young change makers. So please learn more. There are plenty of opportunities to participate in this event. Very good. And we're nearing the end of this panel discussion. One more time, thank you, Irene, Courtney, and Jared, for your insights. Thank you, Claudia, for co-hosting and moderating the panel. And we also want to thank our audience, our global audience, for showing up and already making a difference by doing that. Let's keep unpacking global competence together. We hope to see you soon during the rest of International Education Week, and we hope you had a really good time with us today. So see you soon, and goodbye. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pablo and Claudia. Very well done.
Yes, really appreciate them.
Yeah.
Great questions, very thought-provoking.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Courtney. Thank you, Irene. Thank you, Jared. We hope to see you soon and talk to you soon as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your week.
You too.
Yeah,
It was
you
really
too.
inspiring. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.